Okay, we are out of time. We'll call the meeting to order, and we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Yeah. Okay. I believe everyone is present and accounted for. Jim is online. So Richard, I'm going to confirm with you to see if he is set up before we complete our roll call on Zoom.
Are you there, Richard?
Richard, I'll give you a few seconds just to confirm if Jim's on Zoom before we move forward. Okay, we will move forward. Yes, we can hear you now.
Okay.
Yep.
He is on, but he's not transferred over to a panelist.
Okay. Okay, well, we will say that we are all present and accounted for, and then once he is good to go as a panelist, just let us know so I can make sure to include him in any conversation. Okay, moving on to the consent agenda and approval of the agenda. Any discussion?
I move that we approve the agenda.
I'll second it.
Motion is made and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor of approving the consent agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Say that's unanimous with the exception of, has he been able?
Are we recording Jim McMaster's vote? Richard, can we have him on?
He just needs to talk. Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, Jim, do you vote aye or nay on approval of the consent agenda?
No, the agenda.
Aye.
Sorry, it's the agenda.
Aye. Okay.
Hi.
Okay. Okay, consent agenda. Any discussion on this item? We do have the budget meeting minutes, so obviously there's a little bit more in there if there's any.
I move that we approve it.
I'll second.
Okay. Motion is made and seconded for the approval of the consent agenda. Any discussion? Jim, anything for you online?
No.
Okay. All those in favor of approval of the consent agenda, state aye.
Aye.
Right.
Okay, that is unanimous. Okay, if I know we have a couple people signing in. If someone can grab me the sign-in sheet for the public comment, we'll go ahead and move into our public comments section.
On the clipboard one? Yeah.
Yeah, if you want to hand that over, and I'll start calling on names.
There you are.
Thank you. Okay. First on the list is Russell Johnson. If you'd like to take the stage there, and someone make sure that the button's pressed on there. I don't think it is orange though. Oh, there we go. We are live. If you could just state your name and your address.
Yeah, it's Russell Johnson, 109 Marcus Way here in Newberg.
Excuse me just a sec. Hey, can we get any volume out of these speakers, Richard? Because it's difficult to hear our people that are speaking.
Give me 1 second.
Thank you.
Can you speak for a second?
How's that?
Start your name, just give your name and everything again.
Russell Johnson, 109 Marcus Way.
Is that a good volume or do you need more?
More.
Yeah, just bring the microphone a little closer to yourself, and that should help with the volume.
Yeah, 'cause I'm not hearing anything off your mics
Yeah.
either.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Russell Johnson?
Yep.
Okay, good.
Perfect.
109 Marcus Way, here in Newberg.
I hear you. That sounds great.
I wanted to ask the board to defer any more actions to build pickleball courts in Jakewood Park. I live adjoining it, and I've been there for over 30 years, and the park is in badly need of maintenance and repairs. And rather than spend money on courts, we need to continue to pave the walkways, remove the dead and dying trees, plant new ones, remove the blackberry bushes and other weeds, get the creek cleaned up. It's full of debris and is having the neighbors along the creek on the west side are having a hard time with that. The bathrooms are a mess. I'm actually embarrassed to have people come and play softball and baseball there because the condition of the park is pretty bad. It's flooded out during the winter. The paths are unusable. You only pave part of them. The rest of them have to be done. You can't take wheelchairs through there. The mothers and fathers, they strain with the strollers. It's a trip hazard as well. No one did any roof maintenance on the shelters, and so those looks like at least one of them, the roof's going to have to be replaced. The oak grove is having a lot of health issues for the trees there because it's always flooded out. It's killing the trees. You need a major drainage project to be able to get the water out of that area there where kids have their playground, and it's just soaking wet most of the year. You know, it's just all of this deferred maintenance, and you want to spend money on something that, yes, I don't mind having, you know, more facilities, but the ones we have need to get kept up and maintained. You have horseshoe courts there. Nobody uses them. And I'm afraid that someday that might be the situation with pickleball. It used to be popular. It used to be a lot of people playing horseshoes. Nobody plays that anymore. We don't know what pickleball is going to do. And investing money there right now I don't think is a good idea. It's also, I don't know if the city got a lot of response when they asked for local response for the permit, but I know most of the people feel that it's too loud. Pickleball is noisy, and you listen to that pock for hours at a time, and we're trying to enjoy our backyards. The Peace Garden there is also impacted, and I've talked to people at the church there, and they would prefer not more pickleball. They would prefer less pickleball. So anyway, I just feel that there's just too much needed in Jakewood Park just that we need to spend money on that hasn't been spent. And the park could be a lot nicer and a lot better for the neighborhood than just adding sports facilities that are in many ways more intrusion to the neighborhood. The area that's proposed, the people run their dogs there. I know you're not supposed to have you're supposed to be on leashes, but that's a nice, safe area. People also picnic there. So I would like you to, or prefer you to at least ask the neighborhood what we would want before spending a whole bunch of money to change the park.
Thank you. You are at time if there's anything else you want to say,
No, thank
just to
you.
finish.
I appreciate it.
Okay, thank
Thanks for
you.
the time.
Okay. Lynn Patrick, did you wish to speak?
I didn't.
No? Okay.
And real quick, is there another sheet here? Did we get some more people that signed in?
I'll go ahead.
Oh,
Don't worry. Next on the list, and if you did come in and you couldn't sign in, I'll give an opportunity for everyone to speak if needed. Ty Darby, if you could take the stand and just name and address if you can.
Is it on?
Yep, you are good.
Good evening, Ty Darby. I live at 202 The Greens Avenue in Newberg. Just real brief, I just wanted to recognize a couple things that the board's been working on. Want to say thank you to staff and to the board of directors for the positive work that's been going on at Sanders Park. I think there's a lot of good movement, and I think that's very nice to see. So thank you again for that. And I also just wanted to recognize Lisa and Gail. Obviously, you guys are winding down your time and not rerunning, but I just wanted to say thank you for the service that you've given the board. And obviously it's a lot to give your personal time away from your families here for the support of the community. So thank you for that. That's all I have.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, next we have Matt Dolphin.
Good evening, board. My name is Matt Dolphin. I'm on Mountain Home Road, and I'm here to respectfully request that the board reverse its decision to kick bikes out of Riley Park. Excuse me if I get a little fired up here. Okay. There's a motion made about 2 years ago by Jason Fields to remove kids on bikes off of what is essentially our largest park. I believe it's 325 acres, about 44% of our total parkland. So nearly half of our parkland. And the decision was to kick kids on bikes out off of that park, with preference toward equestrians, which make up less than 3% of our total park users. So we're handing over nearly 50% of our parks to less than 3%. That hardly seems like a sustainable, fair solution. And it hardly, to me, seems like fiscal responsibility, because my definition of fiscal responsibility is to do the greatest good for the most people, not to do a bunch of good for a small group of my friends. So that's where we're at. And if you'll recall, Jason and Matt and Gail, you all made promises, especially you and Jason. I've watched the tapes again and again. You made promises to find a place for bikes, for kids, my kids to ride bikes. They used to love going up to Riley Park. And I think Crystal, her wish was that everyone enjoyed that property of hers. But they can't do that in the way that they choose now. As a dad, I can see and feel time slipping through my hands as my kids grow up. I may get one more push on the swing if I can arm wrestle them into it. They're getting too old for that from dad. But we could go out and enjoy riding on our bikes together. But how many more summers do we get to do that? So I'd like at least a temporary solution to allow bikes up at Riley this year. I know what you'll say. You're going to say, well, this was Crystal's wish. And the biggest proponents for this ban never met Crystal, ever. They didn't know her, but they've got an idea of what Crystal wanted. And it sickens me. It sickens me that they would, and you would, totally disparage this woman's legacy of letting everyone enjoy her property. It's not right. It's not right to kick kids out of a park, and it's definitely not right to ruin someone's legacy. Insinuating that she hated kids on bikes? Absolutely not. This cannot stand. It cannot stand, Jason, Matt, Gail, you all voted in the affirmative. It cannot stand anymore. I'd respectfully ask 10 more minutes to speak.
No, we do have a limit, and I
Oh, you
I
do?
give a little bit of leeway, but,
Can I ask a quick question then, and I'll wrap up?
okay.
Is there a reason why, at the last meeting, you would give your equestrian friend, who lives on a nice big property up next to the park, over 15 minutes to speak, but you want to cut me off? Do you want to check with staff or your legal counsel before you step into a First Amendment violation? You want to check?
I believe that was a part of the agenda.
It was under the public comment area.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So I'll continue for just a couple of minutes. I'll wrap up then. That's all right with you?
No, I think we've been over
Okay.
this, so,
Under protest, then I will stop. Thank you.
okay. Thank you. Okay, anyone else who would like to provide public comment tonight?
If there's time.
Go ahead, yeah, if you could take the stand, name and address, if you will.
Good evening, I'm Brian Reinhofer, and I live at 11775 Parrot Mountain Road. I just wanted to say thank you. The parks looks amazing. It's been open, and there's been a lot of activity, a lot of hikers, a lot of people with their dogs, and obviously a lot of horses. It really is just a suggestion or a thought or food for thought. If the signs aren't up yet, it might behoove us to have a sign that has contact numbers at the trailer park or at the farmhouse for if and when something bad were to happen, whether someone hurts themselves or a loose dog or a loose horse, or just to have contact info on the ready in those two places on a signage might be a good thing to do. Just something to consider while the signs are, in process, I believe, to do it all at the same time. And I don't know if that's a CPRD number, a superintendent number, the Newberg police or fire. I don't know what those numbers would be most applicable, but to maybe have that there so there's no question and people have a, okay, call this person, something's happened. Just, that was it, and to say thank you. They're lovely, and I look down at the park and they've been bustling and full of people ever since it opened. So, thank you, that was it.
I do know our Trails Committee is working closely with staff on signage, so that's something we'll make sure to bring to the next Trail Committee meeting regarding kind of non-emergency contact,
Yeah.
non-police.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
have that on the agenda already.
Okay,
For next
it's already on the agenda. There we go.
Well, fantastic.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, anyone else that would like to speak? Okay, yeah. Name and address if you can.
Good evening. Thank you for allowing me to speak. My name is Robert Smith. I live at 680 Southwest 5th Street in Dundee. I wanted to, again, reiterate my confidence in the current board and thank them for their time and volunteer efforts. Clay, the staff, I sat through the budget meeting, was very impressed with the effort there, the transparency around the budget process. I know that the current board has done a lot of effort to go through and provide additional transparency to the community about the projects that are in place. Wanted to thank the outgoing board members as well. And many of you have probably started to see my shiny dome around town on billboards and posters. And if elected, I look forward to an exciting 4 years of continuing around the fiscal prudence of the current CPRD, as well as all the expanded efforts at the parks to make them safe and usable for all of our residents. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, final call for public participation before we move on to our action items. Going once, going twice. Okay. Looks like our first action item is a donation request from Newberg High School boys tennis. There was a letter in the packet there. I don't think it was specific to us. I believe it was just a general request from community members and organizations. I don't know if staff, if you had any contact with them or if there was any more detail.
I was actually going to turn to either Casey or perhaps Julie to see if this is something that the district had sponsored in the past or not.
I don't think so.
For the
but I
boards.
think Tiffany Olea had maybe submitted that request.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, I think Pat had invited her to attend, right? I don't think she's here tonight.
That's
but-
correct. She had a tennis practice tonight.
So if the board were to desire it, we have budget items that we could pull it from in the budget, and that would be okay. But I was trying to get a sense of me being the new guy still. Not sure if this is a typical thing and how we typically respond to these requests.
In the past, we've given the Newberg Booster Club
Mike?
donations. We've given other various parent groups money for playgrounds and upgrades to their facilities. And I believe we built the bleachers at the high school. So there's, there's lots of precedent back there.
I know too that, I think it was about a year ago, I think you donated $50,000 to the high school for a new sound system.
Okay.
I think about a year ago, the board donated or gave $50,000 to the high school for a new sound system. I just wanted to make sure that you remember that, but that was a very nice gesture. The youth programs, we do use Newberg High School on Saturdays. In fact, we have 5 lacrosse games that are going to be taking place there this Saturday. So we do have an opportunity to use and share that gift.
Well, I'll provide a little bit of comment as the resident tennis player on the board. The high school does use Jakewith Park for both practices and for matches. I believe the high school tennis program is no longer the largest in the state, but at one point it was. I think McMinnville has us beat in total numbers this year. So the Newberg High tennis program is very large and we're very involved with them in that we provide the courts, about half the courts that they use to play on and have matches on. Obviously, we're partnering with them in the fact that we're also upgrading their facilities at Jakewith, which I'm sure they'll continue to use. So I think having a good relationship with them obviously is important. I think financial donations, I think $250 is nothing in comparison to the relationship we have with them in terms of the court usage in the park and the upgrades that we are planning for this summer. So
I just worry that we, these small, when does it stop too? I think that we have Lonnie Benedict that hasn't had anything put to it, and we continue to give money to these other things, and we're not taking care of what we have. There's a gentleman that just was talking that says that, the Jakewith needs some upgrades. So I feel like we have to be cautious because we have a direction that we're supposed to be going in. And a lot of these asks sometimes are from the school, and I understand that the school district has been a great, great partner. But we have a lot of stuff that we're doing that is supporting the schools already. And it just makes me a little bit nervous that we're like when does it stop? And so if you say yes to this, how do you say no to somebody else? And I don't know. It's $250, so it doesn't seem like it should be a big deal, but I think it's more precedent type things. And I know we've been doing this, but it's usually been for like a playground that's falling apart and we don't want the kids to get hurt, so we replace it, right? Or the sound system for the high school. But all of a sudden, little requests coming into, it might be challenging.
well, I guess my message to them, this is just me speaking for myself, is No $250, but we will build you new courts to use. How's that sound? So, that's my position. Any other discussion from the board? Any motions?
Yeah, I have a question.
Yeah,
Yeah.
go ahead.
Yeah, sorry, I put my hand up, but I don't know if you guys can see that. I know that there's a segue for the high school teams to go to the booster club. I don't know, I didn't see, when I read through the packet, I didn't see that they had gone to the booster club, and they have emergency money or whatever there. I'd like to know before we give any kind of money out, that they have attempted that prior to coming to the CPRD board, since we're putting in quite a bit of money to refinish the course that they'll be using already. So, just a thought.
I agree with Lisa on that. I think that if we're going to honor these little requests like this, that we have to have some kind of a plan, some kind of a formula, and make it consistent and fair. And if we don't have that in place, then I think it's going to get messy.
Well, I think we have a consensus here.
I think we do. Any other discussion on this item before we move on?
And I will also add that the sound system that Julie's talking about is something that we, or at least the reason I voted for it is because we use it.
Yes.
Literally, CPRD uses it. And that's the distinction in my head.
Okay.
Matt, is this open to the public?
Go ahead.
My recommendation to him or whoever it is that asked for the $250.
Yeah, let's ask you to go to the microphone, please. Thank you, Bob.
My suggestion to that gentleman that asked for the money, it's $250. Come to the Rotary Club, Newberg Early Birds, and we have grants that we can provide that much and more.
Thank you.
Great, thank you. Okay, our next discussion item is discussion of proposed changes to the preschool and pre-K programs. I don't know, staff, did you want to start this off with a little bit of background before we jump in?
So I'll let Julie go ahead and start us off, but there's no additional information. We're really setting a space to continue the conversation that happened in the last board meeting. And for any members of the public that weren't aware, in addition to the March board meeting, there was also discussion during our budget committee meeting that occurred between this meeting and that last board meeting. So it was some discussion about the preschool and pre-K programs in general. And so we're just kind of making space for that discussion to continue. And we've placed it on the agenda so that the board would like to take some action they can.
Okay.
Yes, I would just say that, I think I mentioned this at the last board meeting, and that is that this has been a really tough decision for all of us for the staff to make, and that it's been 3 years in the making, and that as the supervisor of special services, we try to recover, our goal is to recover 100% of our costs. We try to get close to that, but this program, unfortunately, the deficit is quite large and it continues to increase. So I think so far in 2025, we have earned about $14,000 for the preschool and pre-K program, and I think our expenses right now are at $75,000. So that's about a $66,000 deficit there, and again, it's been a very, very hard decision for us to make. But as staff, we are going to recommend that or propose that we close the preschool and the pre-K. In the meantime, the staff, we are applying for grants. I'm going to be applying on next Wednesday, turning in a grant with Business Oregon. It's round 2 of a grant that we're going to hopefully, I think it's like almost $1 million. And so Josh Danner and I are working together to put that grant together, and hopefully we will use that money, if we are lucky enough to get that, to redo that facility, or to make some, or to redo that facility, or at least make it something that families would be proud to bring their kids to. Does anybody have any questions for me?
I just wonder, so I personally think that we should we should continue to offer these services.
Right.
However, that specific facility, I just wonder if we might be best off, I mean, I don't care how much money we throw at this building. It is not ever going to be a user-friendly building. There is no parking. It is never going to be adequate for this specific use.
Right.
I don't honestly know if throwing any money, and if we get these grants, what's gonna happen? Will we be able to sell the building if it's, you know what I mean? So what I would prefer us to do is continue offering these services, but let's move the daycare, let's move it to our Sanders home, where it's small, but we've got a little place where they can play outside and it's fenced. And I think what we should consider doing is we should consider selling that piece of property and using those funds to buy another piece of property that would be more adequate. That's just what I'm thinking.
Right. So I would say with the Sanders property, that gives me a little bit of pause, just because it is in Dundee. And our summer childcare program is usually more, over, or in Newberg. I think that for people, or for families that live in Newberg, for them to drive to Dundee and then drive out of town, wherever it is that they may be going, I'm not quite sure that that's.
Can you tell me something?
Yeah,
How long does it take to get from here to Dundee?
probably about 10 minutes.
Okay.
I'm just saying that that's what I've heard with our summer childcare program. 2 years ago, we had it in Dundee, and it was a little bit of a barrier for those families. We got a lot of feedback, I guess. Go ahead, Lynn.
I want to come up and talk.
Yeah.
That's okay.
For purposes of the discussion, I would like us to just finish whatever the staff portion is, move to
okay.
public comments, and then go to board deliberation if we
Okay.
could.
Yeah.
So I just don't want to jump all around, and I want
that's fine.
other members of the public to have all the same opportunities.
So assuming we do not get these grants and the building is in the condition it's in, absent major financial changes and repairs, what would we as a district be doing with the two buildings?
So we will be running some recreation programming in that facility. We've taken over the Newberg Youth Cheer program, which we're really excited about. In the community center, it's, even though it's very old, one side of that building is, or I say inside the building, one side of the building is all mirrors, and they have a bar on the other end. So we were thinking maybe potentially some dance classes, some ballet classes. We could rent it out for birthday parties. I kind of think of it as similar to the Armory, something like that.
And you're confident that we still have use, we'd still have the
Oh, yeah, we could
ability
always
for-
use the space. We definitely, we don't really have a community center here in Newberg, so that would be really beneficial for the recreation program.
And one of the things to point out is this is trying to make the best of a bad situation. There's no desire to close the preschool and pre-K programs on behalf of staff. It's that the program doesn't seem to be working. When we have, anecdotally and from other sources, that there is a need from daycare, but our target occupancy or our target enrollment is 55 students, and we have 17. So we have lots of space. And people are choosing not to go there. When we are told there are wait lists and all the other places are full. And we think, we don't know, but we think that the majority of that problem is the facility. So having space to fix the facility or the opportunity to do so, it's going to be really hard if we put potentially quite hard to relocate people if we manage to get funds for a major renovation. Although I'm open to the alternatives, and if the board is supportive of those, that's fine. Alternative sites that we already own is challenging, and they come with their own challenges. But that's some of where the staff's recommendation has come. But the board has said that they're interested in discussing this, and we're open to that discussion and to hearing the board and to doing what the board asks us to do. Because we think that, my understanding is that the board feels that this might be part of the portfolio of what CPRD does, and we want to respect that. But we also feel that we've been told that we need to have a cost recovery model that's supposed to shoot for 100% or pretty close to it. And we're going to probably have a more nuanced and specific conversation about fiscal policy across the programs sometime as early as this summer with the board. And This is just kind of the first part of that. And it's the first one that's come up because it's been brought to our attention, and we've been trying to work on it for multiple years, as Julie said. It's not something that staff wants to do. It's a tough decision.
A quick question.
Yep.
So if optimum occupancy is 55 kids, what would that look like inside that tiny little place?
So it would look like, so right now we offer one class a day. So Tuesdays and Thursdays, we have 3s, and Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, we have 4s. We would potentially offer morning classes and then afternoon classes for both the 3s and the 4s.
So it'd be split.
Yeah, yeah. And I will say too that, you know, I have received a few emails, and there are 4 students that I've identified through those emails that would be interested in signing up, but that's it. And so I know that there was an online campaign, or some people had posted on Facebook about, please email in, you know, to Julie Peterson to let her know that you're interested in keeping the program, and I really, really appreciate that. Some of those were very heartfelt emails, and there were people that had, their kids had participated or had gone to Bonnie Benedict years ago, probably with Lynn, and, but I did hear from 4, and I'm not quite sure that's enough, you know? My expectation was maybe to hear from a little bit more people, but I haven't, so.
Thank you.
Any other board questions specific to staff before we open up some more discussion?
I'll hold mine for now.
Yeah, I've got something.
Okay.
Just from a historical standpoint, and I know Lynn's there. Welcome, Lynn. Love to see you again. But you know, this is the taxpayers' money, all of the taxpayers' money, and I'm heartfelt about the preschool program. But I think we need to have a board work session to discuss this, and maybe not just in a board meeting, because it could be a long discussion. But when we talk about giving up community assets or selling community assets, that's a big decision to make. Again, from a historical standpoint, that building has been heavily used for dance, ballet, fencing, aerobics, on down the line. We've had it used where a concessionaire rented out the room to, you know, cook food. We've had rentals there and so on and so forth. So to sell a building, really have to look at the past and what we could do with it in the future. So that's something that concerns me. So we need to look hard before we can lose a recreational space. So Jason, this is for historical information for you. On the other hand, you know, again, you know, we answered to quite a few taxpayers, and they want us to use the money wisely. And I'm not saying that having a preschool is not using the money wisely, but when we have so few kids and we have George Fox and so and the other factions building a preschool coming up, that is a little concerning to some folks. And, you know, maybe the programming needs to be changed at the preschool itself to attract more people, not just the facility. So those are some of the things I've been thinking about, just for the board's information.
And I would agree with that, and I would also include, or say that, you know, if we move forward with the preschool and pre-K program, it does become more of a basic service than a special service, because it will be subsidized by property taxes and not by fees, right? That's something to keep in mind. Again, really hard decision to make for us. We don't feel good about it. It's not something that we're proud of, but I do think we need to move forward and offer opportunities maybe in a different way. So. Lynn, would you like to come?
Yeah, go ahead.
Is it my turn?
Yeah, you are up.
And then I would just say that we'll just make sure that the public comments are open after this first public commenter.
Yep.
I'm Lynn Patrick, and I was a preschool teacher for this district for many years. I started here in 1993 and worked with Bonnie Benedict and had the pleasure of having 4 classes and 50 to 55 students. So I know it can be done in that small space, and we did it well. It doesn't mean that we can do it now, but it does mean that the space is not necessarily the full issue. There are more issues to it. And it's been a program that's been around for almost 60 years. So we're proud of it. And we're blessed with the students that we've had and the parents that have been involved. And I'm the first one that'll tell you that I hate to think about it going away. I would love to see it recreated. I'd love to see it stay in the same area because that's the heart of Newberg, that area and that location. And yes, I was down there today looking at it again and thinking, as far as availability to walking this areas, the parking across the street, it's public parking across the street, which we can use. There's really not a problem for people to get around down there. And many of our parents walk their kids to school over the years. Many of them drop them off and go back and do whatever. We have great teachers. I will say that our teachers have been marvelous. And there's nothing I can be more proud of than the teachers that we have and the students that have come through our program. So I don't want us to quit thinking about this. Yes, it probably needs to close at this moment, which saddens me, but it doesn't mean we can't keep working to find a future solution. Thank you.
Okay, is there any other public comment specific to this issue?
I have a parent texting me on Zoom. She wants to speak, if that's possible.
Do we have the ability, Richard, do you have the ability to take any public comment via Zoom?
Yeah, what's the name?
Laura Adams.
Laura Adams.
Yes, hello. Oh, here, I can even turn on the camera, I think. Maybe not. But hi, yes, Laura Adams. I live 2073 Kennedy Drive. I currently have a child attending the 3s. She'll be, if it's available, attending the 4s next year. A child attending the 3s and 4s the following 2 years. I want to speak in support again of the importance of this program's availability. Again, it's like I've said in the last two meetings that I've been to, it is one of 2 secular schools in the area. Even with George Fox and ADEC and now I can't think of the church's name. I mean, if they're saying there's a need for 220 students, I mean, there's a need that we're not filling, that we need to figure out how to reach family members, or not family members, but members of the community who are looking for preschool and don't know that it's there. It's something that, I mean, as I've been talking to parents, I've been very active on Facebook, talking to people about this. It's a program they were not aware of, so they didn't sign up their first child to it, and they're keeping their subsequent children where their first child went. They're not switching schools, so we're not getting. I think that's a contributing factor to not having students join, not being able to. I mean, there's no wait list to join, obviously, for next year, but even last year, there was never a wait list to join to say, I wanna attend, and then a registration not opening until July. People don't have a way to express interest. And I just, please consider the fact that this does provide a much needed resource to the taxpayers. I have many emails in my email box from people who have written in who are taxpayers without children, who say they are happy to have their money going to this program because it is a vital program for our community. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments in the room? Anyone else? Okay.
Yeah.
Board.
So I would think that, like Jim was saying, that we need to probably talk about this a lot more, but I'm wondering whether or not we need to have a feasibility study done. We hear that there's demand. I've heard that the public school program is going to be going away because of all of the cuts at the federal level. There seems, I've heard only the last 10 years, the demand for childcare and how difficult it is to find it. And it has been a program that's been around for a long time. So, we're assuming that it's the building. We're assuming a lot of things. And if we were to just do a feasibility study as to what it would take to actually renovate that building to the place that it would make for a good childcare facility that would attract people, and whether or not it will ever fund itself. And that way, we're not going to be guessing or making decisions in a void. I think that it's a really, really important social issue right now. But I don't want us to spend money or stop programs or whatever it is when we don't know whether or not it's something we could do. So that would be my feeling.
Are we going down the line? Does that make it my turn?
You are up.
All right. I like what you said about recreating. I think that we're at a stop right now. I think that the responsible thing to do is to call it for next year, and then see if we can recreate, see if that makes sense in the future. The part that I'm grieving on that is that's going to be hard for you, and that's the part that sucks. But this is, I mean, what do we do with these numbers that we have?
Well, I think staff does have a plan with respect to applying for the grants. We know, regardless of study or not, we know that the condition of the buildings needs to be updated. If the business plan can function going forward, especially as the George Fox ADEC project comes online, that's the next question, right? And that's an economic one. And then the uncertainty with respect to the free programs that the school district is providing. We can't compete with free on the same level that they provide the service and with the facilities they have. So we have a lot working against us in the current economic climate. But I think what staff is doing is the best step, which is if we can secure grants and make those facilities usable again, we have a fighting chance of something materializing that could bring this back at that location. So I think my perspective is the board should be patient and let that process move forward. I know if those grants are secured and we have construction, we would have to do what we're doing anyways, which would be closure for that work to be done. What is the time frame? When would we know if we secured a grant?
I believe it's the 1st of June.
Okay. So relatively soon. So my suggestion for the board would be to let that process play out, and then we can reconvene once we have more information, which is coming very soon.
I agree with everything that everybody has said. However, I am going to just make a comment, and that is we've got ADEC and we've got George Fox that are building a facility for to have daycare, and that's 200 and some children. Now only 20 spots are going to be open to the general public. Okay, I guarantee there's a hell of a lot more people with kids than work at ADEC and George Fox. There is a need, and we have been doing it for 55 years. If we stop doing it, we will probably never do it again. That's the facts, the hard, cold facts. I definitely think that we should continue and work to see if we can get these grants. I honestly don't believe that we should put a dime into that building personally, but, you know, I'm not gonna fight anybody over it. It's the building itself, I mean, it's too small, it's inadequate. The one spot where you've got the dancing stuff, I mean, I understand that that can be used for something, but it's never gonna be a great facility to house children. I realize it's been used, but it's never gonna be a great facility. So, but anyways, I leave it to the staff to decide what can we do? Where can we get the funds? Can we get the funds? And it doesn't make sense, so.
I have a question, sorry to go back in order. Did we ever look into what the cultural center is doing and whether that could be something we could merge with or anything like that?
I'm sure that it's, I'm not positive, but I think that it is, somebody is contracted with the cultural center to run that program there. And so I think it's a third party kind of a thing.
Okay.
Okay, Jim, do you have anything else to say on this subject?
You know, a lot of good comments. I don't want to see it go away either. But I do think that we need a really hard look by the staff at the different things that we should do by the staff and bring it back to the board. There are some alternatives out there that I could suggest I want at this meeting as far as space, but I think the staff needs to look at it hard. I don't want to, you know, say it's gone forever, because I think, as Jason has implied, that, you know, preschool care is important, pre-K care is important, and so I'll leave it up to staff to take a hard look at it. And again, I think that this board or the new board, whatever comes in, needs to look hard at having some work sessions to discuss these items, whether it be the preschool, Shake with Park repairs, and things like that, in a work session, not in a board meeting. So there's my 2 cents.
Okay, I don't understand why the numbers that you're getting on your waiting list are so low if there's a need, even if the building sucks. I mean, when you're desperate, you're desperate. And that's what's not making sense to me. Like, we got in, when we put our kids on the waiting list, we got in, and that was that. But if they hadn't gotten in, they'd have been like that's.
Yeah. I mean,
And I think there may be, what I heard in this conversation this evening, not all conversations, was there's 2 different uses of the word waiting list that are being mentioned. Because I think one of the speakers was mentioning kind of promotion and getting new people, kind of that recruitment process of new enrollees. And so that's more of that interested parties list that ahead, so that when enrollment does open, we can contact them. I don't know about that. But from the typical wait list standpoint, we haven't had high enough enrollment to have a traditional wait list like that you're
No, if you
kind
wanna
of waiting
get
to
in.
find out if you're in.
Yeah.
So our enrollment hasn't hit that, so we've had that. So I think that, I
But
just want to make sure
still,
we're
my
clear.
point about desperation is if you need preschool and there's a preschool, then the preschool should be doing better than it is.
right. I do think that we talked briefly at the last meeting about the school district offering free preschool. I think I mentioned that 4 of our employees are taking their children there instead of going to our school, even though they would get a 40% discount off of, you know, it's $195 in the 3s and $230 for the 4s. So they have ours is part-time, half a day. They do have full-time there over at the school district, and it's free breakfast, free lunch, and free supplies. And that's hard to compete with, and I do think that a lot of people are attending there.
Well, we keep saying both. We keep saying that there's such a need, and then we say, but there's so much competition.
Mhm.
And they're kind of opposites.
Yeah. Yeah, we're just not seeing the enrollment. I think it's a lot of different things.
Can I make a comment to answer that question?
If you like.
It's just really quick.
Okay, go ahead.
You might want to go up there here.
For those in Zoom.
To answer your question a little bit more, the building is part of the problem. I also as a teacher who's there every day talking to parents, the registration is an issue, billing is an issue. It's just kind of a lot of components into it, and it's like when parents are interested, we're supposed to send them to pool to register. And that's a whole, it's like they call Deanna Rice, hey, I'm interested in preschool. Okay, call the pool to register. It kind of creates like this like, oh, well, that's one more person I have to call. And then it's a longer process.
Okay. It looks like we have one more person on Zoom for public comment. We'll go ahead and take that once Richard gets it geared up. Ready?
Hi, yeah, this is Laura Adams again. Just branching off of what Ms. Gray said. The registration is quite difficult to figure out how to get there, how to get registered. As I said at a previous meeting, I knew 2 people signing up for the 3s this year who didn't sign up because they couldn't get registered and they needed to make a decision because registration didn't open until July versus January and February of the other programs.
Okay, thank you.
Registration is certainly a problem, and I would really support doing some kind of economic study, as was previously suggested by a board member, like what is the actual need in the community?
Okay.
Disconnected.
Okay, so I think we have a big date early in June where we'll know about a grant. So let's plan on having a agenda item or potentially a work session in June. But once we get that information, we'll be able to figure that out. And we'll have another meeting before then to have further discussion about the next meeting. A meeting about a meeting. So what could be better than that? So to be continued. We will continue this discussion as we get more information. Okay, next item we have is the golf committee vacancy. Was this staff or did you want to take this as the member of the golf committee?
I think Kat had this one as part of it, because part of it was asking staff to look at prior.
Okay.
Prior
This is where we were
folks.
looking at prior golf applicants
Believe
in
so.
the pool. Okay.
Right, so the 2, thank you, who were not appointed from the original applicant pool were Mark Belcher and Brandon Casey, and Bob and I and Roger Coolman together have been in contact since the last board meeting, and they've confirmed that neither are available at this time. Did you want to add anything? If you do, I'd urge you to take that, Mike, thank you. But their committee did come to bring up the discussion about how to proceed, so he can give you the update on that.
Bob Travers again. Yes, we agreed as a subcommittee or committee that we want the other 2 additional members on our committee for a total of 7. Dennis Lewis has not put his resignation in, if I'm not mistaken, unless he'd recently did. So we just want to put that, open it up again and find 2 more potentials.
So we have 2 official vacancies, and the committee wants the full 7 members. Any discussion on the board, or would we just direct staff to put the applications out there and then we can have them reviewed at our next regularly scheduled meeting?
Yeah, I think that's just fine. If you guys want it, I think move forward, see if we can find somebody who would like to join.
I'd like to add one thing.
Yeah.
If we have folks that are interested in being on committees, it's important, I think, that they or fully understand that, if they're interested in being on a committee, that they need to come to that board meeting. I just, if people are gonna put in an application and not know that, we need to say that. So I just want to be on board on that.
Yeah, if we can just communicate for all applicants, if they do contact us in any way, just tell them the next regularly scheduled board meeting, and that the board does like to meet the folks that have applied.
Kat, if we could basically say something on the forms or the application, that's something that attendance at the selection committee, this selection meeting is strongly encouraged.
Yeah.
Because we don't want to say it's required if it's not the
You
case.
can't require it, no.
Okay.
Yeah.
Will do.
Okay,
Thank
perfect. Okay. So our next item is board comments, which sometimes I move, but we'll just go ahead and keep it where it's at. We will start with Lisa, we'll go down the line, and we will finish with Jim, if that's okay.
Yeah, no comments.
No comments?
No comments.
Okay, no comments. You guys, come on, okay. Well, I have way too many comments, so I'll probably limit them. The Camellia Festival was amazing. Was able to volunteer and see a lot of our hardworking CPRD district staff. Over 600 registered in the run. Just unbelievable attendance. The community loves this event. We need more of these types of events. I think this community really comes together. And it's just amazing all the people who come from outside the community. I know we had a little talk with the Taste of Newberg and the other group. That's a segue, and really a lot of what we do and a lot of what as a park district we do is we make this area enjoyable and exciting for people not just to live here but to visit. And I think these types of events, they really, really bring in a lot of excitement from outside of our community, and then also feed the excitement within the community. And then that's trying to make it a natural segue to the recreation ready. I'm looking at you, Clay. This was just last night. There was the recreation ready Riverfront Reimagined. I was able to attend one of those sessions. Brian and Clay were both there. Fantastic job from CPRD staff. I think we knocked the socks off of the folks when we showed them our property, specifically our property down on 219, with respect to the potential for river access in our area. It's very exciting. And then also paddle launch. I know that's something that this board, gosh, Casey, we were talking about that every board meeting for months, and I think there's an excitement about the paddle launch that is in addition to and separate from just the 219 property and some of the other properties. So I'm excited to maybe see that as an agenda item again. To be continued on that. Also, there was a meeting. I know I'm taking some of your superintendent's report away.
That's okay.
But that's the order. You put the board comments first, so it's your fault.
It's all right. It's your thunder.
The Dundee Urban Renewal District, I want to say this meeting was a couple weeks ago. Just the work you did there and sitting through that 3 hours before your presentation was just commendable. We requested some help from the Urban Renewal District specific to the improvements to be made in that downtown district. Also very much tied to the work on Sandard Park that's coming up. And the way you presented it and the detail and everything that we did to prepare for that was so positive, and it was positively received by the Dundee Council / Urban Renewal District. And seeing this positive move forward from where we were just months ago, it's incredible. So I do hope that there's some folks out here from Dundee and folks on the watching the meeting. Dundee, thank you for working with us, and we're gonna have a positive relationship going forward with Sanders Park, and it's very exciting. So that is all I have.
You know, I'm really surprised sitting here today, listening to somebody talk about how we haven't made fixing our parks a priority. Because that is something that I ran on. We are going to spend money taking care of our existing parks before we go do anything else. And I believe Brian has been working his tail off in Jakewood Park. I believe we have a plan for Jakewood Park as far as the restrooms. And we've already started correcting the pathways. And I know that these guys do a great job maintaining everything at that park. So it's kind of sad to hear that. The other thing is I know that I have had many meetings with our new superintendent talking about my top 2 priorities. Do you know what those 2 top priorities are?
It would be finding a place for bikes, and I don't know what else it would be in addition to the
Ball
preschool.
fields.
Oh, ball fields. I apologize.
Yes. And when's the last time we spoke about this?
Was it yesterday?
Day
Yesterday
before.
or the day before?
Yeah, so this is I just want you guys to know, this is a real big priority. Unfortunately, you know, land doesn't grow on trees, all right? We have to find the right piece of property in order to be able to do this. We're not gonna relitigate, rehash things that we have decided in the past. And I wanna make it clear that we do not hate kids on bicycles, all right? We believe that we should have safe places for them to be able to ride. And I find it offensive that somebody would say that we hate kids on bicycles. It is a priority, and we are working to find that. And I have asked Clay to look and see if we can locate a place that will work for bicycles. And I know that he's actively working on that. So I just want everybody that's watching here on Zoom and that's sitting here in this room and know that this is a priority of this board. We want to make sure that we've got safe places for our kids to ride, our families to ride. And that's it.
Okay, Jim, you are up.
Yeah, I apologize for being out of town. I can blame it on my wife, I think, as far as taking a vacation. But anyway, I have to say that, yeah, and I'm running again on maintaining the parks, but it's a difficult dance. People want everything, and we can only afford so much. But I'm adamant, and just like Jason was saying, that we maintain what we have. But looking at the costs and being on state committees concerning recreation, and looking at the costs now and the costs in the near future, it's going to be difficult to help everybody that wants everything. You know, whether it be ball fields, whether it be new bathrooms and so on. We're talking millions of dollars, not used to be hundreds of thousands. So we need to really take a hard look and maybe do a feasibility study on the entire park district before we jump to other things. Also, with that said, and again, Jason alluded to it, is that I've got some places that we may be able to work with the paddle launch and the bikes that I'm working on, and I'll bring that to the board at another point. And lastly, I do feel bad about missing the community festival, and specifically, I don't know how it went at Friends Park with the planting. I'm sure it was great, but those are, at least with Friends Park and even the community festival, getting the public involved in what we're doing as volunteers. We're going to need to see that a lot more, because people want more, and people do want to volunteer, and we can use them to help to maintain the parks, take ownership of the parks and our facilities. So again, I'm disappointed I'm not there. It's the first board meeting I missed forever. But anyway, good work, everybody, and thank you, staff.
Well, Jim, you are in luck. If you head to the airport right now, I think you can make it to the planting at the Friends Park, which is occurring on Saturday, I believe. So,
There you go. See, I'm gonna miss that, so, see, I don't even have the dates right. Sorry. I know it'll be great.
all right, thank you. Okay, we will move into our advisory committee updates. Does the pickleball committee have an update?
Yeah, Nick Conan, chair of the pickleball committee. We're very excited. As of today, we finalized our date for our informational session open to the public about the Jakewith project. That's going to be on May 20th at 6:15 in this room. Yeah, we're really excited. We're going to invite the tennis community, the local neighbors, anyone in the public who would like to come, and we encourage you all there. And rumor has it that Cheryl Greiner is making cookies for it.
Her cinnamon rolls were really good the last time.
Are they shaped like pickleballs?
They should be.
Thanks, Nick.
Thank you. Okay, do we have anyone from the Trails Committee? Yeah.
Hi, I'm Bob Freshman, a member of the Heritage Trails Advisory Committee. And just to bring you up to date on what we've been doing, one of the key projects we've been working on over the last couple of months is to get good, usable trail signage at Bob and Krista Riley Park. You know, there's some great signage I've seen like at Jakewith Park, but we've been going through and working with staff who have been really supportive. I mean, I have to give a thumbs up to Brian for being that, and also to Clay Rogers, who's put in a lot of work to make this happen. So we've come up with, we've actually, as a committee, walked pretty much the entire east side trails, and so they can get a really good, you know, eye view of exactly what's there. And next week, we're gonna walk the west side trail, which is a little more daunting prospect, just because there's more mileage and hills on that side. But we really want to make the people that come to that park, and that park is actually becoming very heavily used in the last couple of years. I was up there this morning on a weekday, 9 o'clock, there was probably 20 cars in the parking lot already. So people are out there, and one of the things that we know is difficult for them is, where the heck do you go? We don't have a usable map, we don't have a usable signage, so we do have a plan in place, and actually some of the signage markers are already up. There haven't been the information put on them yet, but they've gone a long way to getting those. So the goal is by hopefully early summer to at least have the signage up on the east side trails, and then sometime during the summer to also have that to the west side trails. I forget, because I've been on those trails for 25 years, how easy it is to not know where you're going. So we were lucky enough to be able to use the trails when Bob and Crystal Riley had the farm there and invited us to use their trails. And also we're excited is that we just finalized a trails workday on June 29th from 1 to 4 in the afternoon at Bob and Crystal Riley. And we're reaching out to a number of the user groups to get participation. We would like to hope to put a sign up in both the lower and upper parking lots at Bob and Crystal Riley, inviting people to come help, and to publicize that on the CPRD website and CPRD Facebook page. We'd love to get a great turnout, and there's so many people that use that park, and we think that we'll get a strong turnout on that, and hopefully continue that volunteer program as a permanent type of feature. So, any questions?
Nope. Thanks, Bob.
Thank you. Okay, we have the Golf Clubhouse Development Committee, and they do have a presentation. So Richard, if you can get that queued up. This report will be longer than our normal report since they are presenting their findings to us. Okay.
Hello, my name's Bob Travers, at 408 Ironwood Drive, Newberg, over on the greens. Well, this has been a long year. This is the first time that we're finally giving something to you, bringing it back to you as the as a staff and the board of directors as required that you gave us, it's kind of a mandate to get some more information on why we should have a clubhouse, a new clubhouse built. As we all know, in months past, I have brought up the point that this has been something for over 20 years that Don Clemens shared with me way back then at the Old Fashioned Festival when he was pointing out all of the new things that was going on with the golf course. And he did specifically point out a clubhouse. So after 20 years, we're sitting here not seeing a new clubhouse, and that's the reason that this club, or the committee, was created, to gather more information to present to you. All right? So this is the beginning. We're ready? Great. So there's a team of 7 that are part of the committee that the board created, and those were Bob Travers, Roger Coleman, Tom Sheridan, Dennis Lewis, Jeff Dillon, Joe Fisher, and Tony Roos. And Jeff Dillon had to resign because of family situations, so he's no longer with us at this time. And then again, I mentioned that Dennis Lewis might be retiring or leaving the committee, and so we want to make sure that we have those 2 at least ready. So initially we were asked to do a mission statement, and this is what we came up with. We are committed to gathering comprehensive information to help plan and build a new golf clubhouse at Chehalem Glen Golf Course. We will engage with community members, stakeholders, and experts to ensure the new clubhouse meets the needs and expectations of all users. The committee aims to create a welcoming and functioning space that fosters community engagement and enjoyment for years to come. Then the advisory committee was asked to provide some more additional information, and that's the next slide, please, Richard. Our committee was tasked with the essential responsibility of gathering insight from the diverse range of individuals, associations, and community groups, along with exploring opportunities within the public and private schools that offer golf classes. We aimed to evaluate the potential impact and significance of developing a vibrant new public facility at the picturesque Chehalem Glen Golf Course. This envisioned facility would serve as a hub for community gatherings, featuring an elegant venue of public events, a delightful restaurant offering a variety of culinary options, a stylish bar and lounge, inviting outdoor seating, a well-stocked pro shop, a convenient snack bar, and perhaps even a charming wine cellar to enhance the overall experience. Continuing, we were asked to contact the numerous people around the area, including the local hotels and motels, golfers, local real estate contacts, current staff of Chehalem Glen, local educational establishments, visitors and tourism organizations, local wineries associations, community service clubs, and surrounding golf clubhouses. We also were asked to find what the key features were were the other clubhouses mentioned to us, and many others that we've asked these questions. What is it that you would like to see in this new clubhouse? The most important one was a full-service restaurant. And then the second one was pro shop. I'm just going down the line here. Snack bar, a snack shop, banquet and multi-use facility, family-friendly amenities, And then thoughtful parking design, architectural compatibility, and financially viable and future-proof. We also were recommended that we contract with a consultant to develop a feasibility study. Very important. That was one of the key things that the the committee wanted to make sure that you have a feasibility study on board. And we're willing to assist you in creating that, staff, if you need some assistance. Evaluate the conditions and existing facilities, trends in the clubhouse design is part of it, the features that should be included, all the different amenities, specifications of building and site, the estimated cost of construction and operations, big, and estimated time frame for the project to be completed. Okay, the next phase after this will be the phase 2 is we contract with consultants to develop a business plan that was asked of us. Develop financial needs to the project, estimate revenue, trends in golf participation, competitive analysis of nearby facilities, explore third-party operations, financing options that minimize exposure to CPRD, very important. And then we were asked for our personal comments. Each individual who wanted to, they wanted to have their 2 cents, and this is what they have said. Okay, so Roger Coleman, which is the co-chair working with me closely, he says a new clubhouse should be a multifunctional facility that meets the current and future needs of the golf course and the community. This new clubhouse will elevate overall experience for players and guests, and serve as a cornerstone for community engagement, economic development, and long-term sustainability of the golf course. End quote. Dennis Lewis Audio, who is part of the committee, he says, to help bring a needed community asset to life that will not only enhance the golf community, but also provide a meeting facility that will attract outside organizations to Newberg. Our community is enjoying a large growth in tourism and is being recognized as one of Oregon's best places to visit. CPRD has been playing a big role in this recognition. Then Joe Fisher, he brought up the point of the survey that we did at the clubhouse, which we had over 150 people respond to that survey, and he brought a lot of insight to what it said in a combined effort. And he says, looking at the golfers survey, the 4 most important features, additions, and implementations are, number 1, a new restaurant for golfers and non-golfers, which includes a bar and a quick service window. Number 2, a separate space for the community to utilize for events, parties, meetings, and other large groups, outings, including tournaments, of course. And then 3, more seating and communal areas, especially outdoors, big time. And 4 is the pro shop with more golf offerings in equipment, gear, clothing, and accessories. So Tony did the majority of the work. Tony Roos did the majority of the work as far as putting together a lot of this information. He says, creating a new clubhouse at Chehalem Glen is an exciting opportunity to design a space that fosters community, relaxation, and various activities. To ensure that the clubhouse meets the needs of all users and provides a comfortable and inviting environment, here are some highlights. Again, a restaurant, number 1, snack bar, close to it. Number 2, outdoor dining space. Number 3, separate locations to accommodate banquets. We kept hearing that time and time again. Facilities that blend with existing environments and support sustainability is financially viable and keeps the cost of golf and food reasonable without increases in taxes. And then, of course, other activities such as weddings that would enhance or include some revenue. Pro shop that could include a simulation or a simulator is one of the things that he pointed out, and it's always been one of those things that people just pointed that said, hey, we definitely could use a simulator now that they're all available free, not free, but they are available to the public. He finishes up with adequate parking with provisions and overall overflow and deliveries, accommodate the future third 9-hole and other uses of space, future-proof facilities including Wi-Fi, EV charging, meeting rooms, AV needs, flexibility of meeting spaces. Facility constructed that keeps operations and maintenance costs at a minimum. And number 10 is consider a third-party operation of the restaurant, banquet, and meeting spaces. In conclusion, it was a big challenge for us because we were so fresh and new and doing these various gathering of information that we just had to start breaking it down and saying, okay, what does everybody want as far as putting it out there to the public? So the challenge is conduct a thorough investigation to determine the requirements for constructing a new clubhouse at the golf course. That's number 1. Number 2 is that the CPRD's expectations from us that identifies the anticipation and advantage of establishing a new clubhouse. Community feedback, very important. So solicit and compile responses from neighboring communities regarding their perspective on the proposed clubhouse. We did. Response from the local organizations. We also did that. Gathering information from the stakeholders, including the tourist association, community clubs, realtors, and other clubhouse operators, as well as the local restaurants. Financial commitment, that was one of the things that was emphasized to us. Evaluate, which is not, we're not here yet, but evaluate the financial resources necessary to support this project. And finally, the time frame, develop a comprehension project completion timeline. So the next phase will pursue the feasibility study and business plan. That's it. Any comments?
Good job, Bob.
Great
You're
information.
welcome. It's my pleasure, believe me.
Yeah, I have a couple comments.
Oh, by all
Yeah,
means.
go ahead.
One is that I've been kind of the board liaison along with Jason on this and been a little bit of the devil's advocate for Bob. But with that said, I've appreciated the people that have been on the committee. I mean, there's some real knowledge on the committee, which has really helped Bob and others move this ahead. But I wanted to make sure that our taxpayers understand that the feasibility and the business plan would be coming out of the surcharge that's already been levied to the specific golf course players. So it's not coming out of our general budget that way. I think that's important so people know that the golfers are paying for this feasibility and business plan to take place. You can see that this is viable. And another thing, Bob, that I think you might want to talk about just a tiny bit is you didn't mention the third 9 as part of being, important for the success of this clubhouse or not. But anyway, I appreciate the work the folks have been doing.
Did you ask for my response?
Yeah, if you can give a response on what did the committee, did they have any findings on the necessity of a third 9 coupled with the project?
We did. We had to talk about it because it was part of our expectation from you guys. Mm-hmm. And one of the things we could not do is go against what you started in 2018, I believe it was. I have it listed here. You already created the design of that property when you purchased it. So there was not much we could do. It was already there. We've already established what was going to happen. And so and we don't have anything pertaining to do with the finances or the cost. So that was not part of the main, in the thrust that we were trying to do in recognizing the importance of having a clubhouse. It was already assumed that that third 9 was going to be built along with the clubhouse.
I may be like speaking out of turn here, but I'm thinking that what Jim was asking is the third 9 necessary for the success of the clubhouse?
Yes, that was given to us as an automatic. It has to be. I think Jason was the one that pointed it out many months ago, that it wouldn't survive if we didn't have the third 9. Why? Because of the tournaments that take away from the people that normally play there when the tournament was playing or being, what is the word?
Conducted.
Thank you. It was just something that was a given. We already knew that third 9 had to be there to keep and maintain the revenue that's going to be flowing in once we have this clubhouse and the third 9.
Thank you.
So the committee's ask is that we move forward with a feasibility study and a business plan, and that those be funded with the surcharge that the golfers have been.
That is correct. We've been asking that for months.
And how much money do we have in the account for the surcharge? Is it 160,000, something
There's
like?
about 178,000.
178,000. And what's the expected cost for a feasibility study, business plan?
We've gotten a few different estimates depending on who we've asked, but I would expect somewhere in maybe the lower range expectations that I have would be $45,000 to $85,000. But I've also heard from a couple of the committee members that they think that it could be as high as 160,000, I think was what I heard. That to me seems like an awful lot, but they may know things I don't.
The feasibility and the business plan.
Right. And we do have some things, like we have renderings and we have those sorts of things, which I'm hoping will take some of the scope cost down so that we wouldn't end up at that high-end range and we'd have a more contained cost because we have some concept drawings already available. But we'll see. So we're happy to put an RFP out on the street so that we can see what kind of a response we get from folks.
Okay.
And that won't happen until when? The request for RFP.
In the next couple of months, we were generally.
Probably June.
Yeah, we were generally
because
planning on
it's
doing
not
it summer.
running Until next year, July 1.
Yep.
So that was my
I think
next question.
the money though, folks, is coming out of the next budget.
Yeah.
So you put the RFP out, but the money couldn't be spent till the next budget, is that correct?
That is correct. That's the expectation.
Right.
And did we already approve that feasibility study?
So the question was, did we already approve the feasibility study? And my understanding is we haven't made a decision on that. However, it is part of the budget tied to that surcharge. Is that correct?
Right.
The general discussion that I've heard is there's been nothing specific to approve because there's nothing to receive. We haven't put an RFP out, but it's my understanding that that's been discussed and it's a general expectation for proceeding as the next step towards this sort of thing, that we're going to do a feasibility study, and that in general, we would like it to have basic components, including a business plan. So we want to evaluate whether or not it can pencil and to what extent that's possible and what shape that would take. And then from that preferred alternatives, what I would hope to have in the scope of work is the preferred alternative comes back to us with a business plan and a financing plan.
Okay.
And so that's what we would ask that individual or firm to do for us.
And is that something, would staff want to bring that back to the board next month, maybe to actually to vote on?
I'm
proceeding?
concerned about having an RFP ready by then because of some of the other things that we have.
Okay.
And so June seems doable.
June?
I don't
Okay.
think May is something we could rustle that up in time.
Yeah, okay.
So to segue on to what Matt's saying is that I think that the board would have to approve that we go out for the RFP and quote business plan as just part of the process.
Yeah, and
So, and then we have it on file.
I would say there's two ways. The board could just provide direction to staff and say, proceed with an RFP, we don't need to see it before you do. Or if you'd like to see it before the RFP goes out and is published, so that you can comment on it, ask us to change, add, modify, then we'd be happy to do that too. I don't know exactly what we have done with these sorts of things in the past, if we typically have RFPs come to the board, or if the board only receives what staff is recommending for a selection before the study proceeds
I think
to
we've
authorize
been
it.
given the proposals, I believe, haven't we?
We
I
just
feel
received
like
the
we've been
proposals.
giving the
In my
proposals,
brief
yeah.
time, it seems like we've always.
But you
had
don't
the
necessarily
discussion.
see the RFP before it's published.
No, well, I mean, actually, I think we're given a copy of it, we're not given a copy to approve or anything. No, it's just, it's more informational is, I think.
And and
seen
some of that is me, some of that is me not being familiar with the process, perhaps. Casey, do you know what the general expectation you would have for something like this? Would you want them to see the RFP or the response to the RFP only, based on how we've typically operated?
Typically, they've seen the RFP, and then
Mike.
we sit. Get some longer mics.
All right.
We've seen, and then I just have presented.
It's an informational.
All the returns that we get. We usually get 3 or 4 of them. Go through the numbers, and then kind of make a recommendation, and then the board would approve it.
Well, since this is a
So
big.
two touches.
This is a big ticket item, so I think
is.
it's important that the board make a decision,
Yeah.
if we're spending potentially $80,000.
Mhm.
I think, bring that
That's
to
true.
us,
'Cause we do have to authorize
with
these.
whatever detail staff feels appropriate, and then whatever discussion we have.
So we'll anticipate 2 touches, both the
Yep.
RFP going out, so you'll see the RFP before it's published, and then you'll see the response to the RFP, so we can talk about those, and there'll be a staff recommendation accompanying those responses
Yep.
as well.
Perfect.
And then we would ask for authorization at that time too, assuming that we're all pleased with it.
Yep.
So we're gonna shoot for bringing it to you by June for for that first touch.
Thanks, Clay.
Yeah.
Tony Roos has requested that he be participating in the development of the RFP if possible. And he's on our committee, and he spoke to that exact thing in our committee. So if you can bring him into the fold of creating it, whoever it is or whoever.
Yeah, I believe he sent me the RFP that proposal. I just haven't got to it yet.
Got it.
So we're happy to include him, that would be fine, and thank you.
Thank you again, I gotta leave.
Yeah, thank you so
Thanks,
much for
Bob.
that presentation.
Great.
Yeah, very good. Okay, well, I think we have a plan there. And now we'll move to superintendent's report.
Okay. So I want to start with some gold stars for folks. I think we've had some staff, I've heard some really good things from staff, about staff today, and frankly, not just today, but all through the last time since we've met. And so I wanted to highlight that I heard some particularly good things about Kellen and Brett at the golf course working together, and how much they're appreciated as working as a team specifically, not just one of them being a rock star and the other one being a rock star, but that together they run a great operation that's really appreciated. I wanted to mention that Max, your name has come up too. If people, I don't off the top of my head, I actually don't remember who it was, but I remember getting some comments that your work has really been appreciated at the golf course as well, and the work that you've been doing. So thank you. I've heard some good things told to me about how appreciated Brian has been and the efforts he's done to move things along. I think that probably extends to Brian's entire crew kicking in, because he's got an army of people out there doing really great things with him. And it's nice to have a team that when I go places, people want to tell me how great their experiences are with our team. And so that's really nice to hear those sorts of things coming up. And with that, I wanted to go into a couple of things. Again, I'm going to try and continue doing these memos so that I don't have to go over in great detail on these, but we can circle back on any of the items that are in the memo. Budget adoption, I'm just kind of reminding you that there's more process left, so you get to enjoy that for the next month or two. But we're on track, and we're going to have the budget summary being published shortly. For that, that's kind of the next step that'll go before we have our next public budget hearing. And then we're still working on the annual audit reports, so those came before. And we're still working on those, so we're working on the 2024 one. We're trying to rip through that as quick as we can. We'll be putting an RFP on the street. We're trying to time that so that that'll go out about the time that we're due to wrap up that 24, because we don't think anyone will would want to sign an engagement letter with us until we've got that completed. So we're going to try and get that ready and then time it to go out appropriately.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Because in there, it said also that you didn't get the extension for the 24 audit?
That's correct.
So what's the penalty of that?
It's kind of related to it's exactly related to what we were talking about the last time, in that according to the Secretary of State, it's reputational. And that was the word they used.
Okay.
So reputational could have consequences, but they're not the hard and fast consequences of, say, a school district.
Okay,
So,
thank you.
Yeah, so I was concerned about that as well, but
Okay.
it's a shame. We'd like to be able to follow and comply as fully as possible, and so we requested the extension. It's a shame we didn't get it, but we're there. We're going to try and do better. Capital project, Sanders State Park. So we've been deemed complete. We're in review for a design review a type 1 review for Sanders State, which means it's ministerial. It should be a pretty straightforward one. So that's moving forward. We have, our firm is working forward on that so that we can get to construction as promptly as possible. And they're kind of working through that to get towards the bidding process. We did go to the Urban Renewal Agency, basically made a request. That request was for approximately $1.1 million of assistance. So you should ask for as much as you think you can and see what you get. And we do, when that letter was written that went to them, it's available upon request if anyone would like to see it. Basically, we went through the urban renewal plan, looked at the goals and objectives associated with that plan, and said, we think that these components of this project meet what your goals and objectives are, and we think you should help us fund them. And what we got as a response from the Urban Renewal Agency at Dundee, which, just so folks are clear, the Urban Renewal Agency are all the same people that are on city council. It's just when they meet as an urban renewal agency, they have they're just wearing a little different badge at that time. So it's the same people, they're just in a different decision-making capacity. And so we made those requests for the street improvements that we're required to do as part of the master plan, for the parking lot upgrades associated with that, because one of the goals is to provide public parking in the area. Clearly, a public park would do that. We think it's a good ask. They were a little surprised to see that one, but I think there's a nexus. So we're asking. And then also for some of the other infrastructure improvements related to water, sewer, and electrical. So that's what we're asking. We'll see how much they feel comfortable fulfilling that. They basically said, we want to do this, we're not sure how much. So they're going to come back on that. We're going to try and stay close to it and be available to answer questions and make sure that they feel good about investing in the park.
They mentioned they had like a projected budget meeting coming up of some sort that gives them the better
I'm
review.
going to try and keep my eyes on and make sure I attend those so that they know that they're being watched in a good way, hopefully. The part of this that's somewhat unusual, urban renewal agencies can do the funding requests in different ways. They expect that for this one, and it's been talked about this way, that we're probably going to pay the upfront costs and there will be a repayment schedule to be associated with that. And we're asking that if there's going to be that repayment schedule where we've paid upfront costs, that they pay us back with interest that's appropriate for, not to make money back on it, but that is appropriate for inflation. So it'd probably be tied to Seattle CPI or something like that.
Perfect.
So that's the ask that we've got there. Jakewith, no big comments there other than it's still in land use review with the city. We expect that to be completed before long, and then we're looking forward to moving into construction after that. We're hoping for July, largely because we're also hoping that the ground will be dry by then. So that's some of the timing associated with that. There was a suggestion when we hosted some folks at the golf course last week, which was a good one, that we try or consider finding some alternatives in town that we might be able to direct people to while it's down. That doesn't mean we necessarily have to operate those, but if there are alternatives for tennis and pickleball players, maybe we put up signage or make people aware that they could go elsewhere, at least for the summer or something like that. So that was a reasonable one, so we're going to look into that a little bit and see if we can soften the blow of the courts being down. I don't know what that would be. That might be like, hey, good luck, go over to the high school while they're closed or something, or while they're out for summer. So we'll see if there's any opportunities there, but no promises because those wouldn't be our facilities. The Newberg Dundee bypass project also still in design review, so that's something that's moving forward and kind of waiting on the city of Newberg to do their process so we can move forward with ours.
Are we expecting to break ground still on that?
Yep.
Okay.
We are, and this is just for phase one. So this is essentially the segment that goes from Industrial Parkway over to kind of the Rogers Landing area. And there's a bridge segment and trail alignment associated with that. Does that sound about accurate?
Yep.
Okay. Don't let me say things that aren't true when recorded or to the board. Then Ewing Young Park. So we've been reaching out. Some of the outreach that happened there is we basically reached out to, followed up on a suggestion from Yamhill County Planning that we look into small site urban growth boundary amendments and see, is there a pathway that's not too expensive and not too time consuming? And it seemed like they are kind of time consuming and they're typically expensive. So we could do it. We would be subject to the Newberg Urban Area Management Guidelines. It's a whole lengthy acronym all by itself, but basically there's essentially an agreement between Newberg and the county on how you go about those. But for the most part, we would expect that the city has to be the driver because of how urban growth boundary amendments work, and we don't really get a pass on that. What I would expect generally for the cost on that, kind of a blue sky cost if we didn't run into anything unexpected, would be approximately $50,000 to $85,000. And that's based on the experience in the city of Silverton, which seemed relatively, or city of Almsville, which seemed relatively similar to what we would be doing. And it's just using the same old regular pathway, but that's if it all went according to plan and the city was willing to do those sorts of things. So I don't think that an urban growth boundary amendment is the best pathway for us. There's no easy exemption or anything like that just because we're doing it for a small portion of land, unfortunately. So if the board is supportive, what I would suggest is that we go ahead with what's been discussed at other times, which I believe, had talked about having discussions with individual county commissioners, perhaps our liaison from the county first, about taking kind of a temperature check and seeing if there's kind of an openness to doing a text amendment associated with some of the things that have created problems with this particular sort of a situation in the past. And then after we've done that outreach, which could be staff reaching out to those folks, or it could be a designated board member reaching out to those folks, depending on the preference, then staff could also commit to doing outreach with the neighbors that are in the area and letting them know what we want to do, why we want to do it, and also getting some feedback on things we could do to be a good neighbor in that sense. We want to activate that site as a park. We don't want it to make the lives of our neighbors difficult. We just want to use our park as a park fully. And then, depending on the outcome of that outreach, we could present both the outreach results and what our ask is to the county commissioners. And any of those results would be presented to this board before we go off and do that sort of thing. But that's the approach that we would be interested in taking. Does the board have any preference on, thoughts on that for generally moving forward?
I think it sounds reasonable.
Would it be preferred that staff do the engagement with commissioners, or would it be preferred that a designated board member do that?
I think this is Jim speaking, sorry. I think that a board member and staff together, a certain specific board member and a staff member, I think the staff should always be involved in those discussions, in my view.
I agree.
Yeah.
That seems reasonable.
I can work with you.
Okay, I'm happy to work with you. As long as everybody's okay and we're not stepping on toes, that sounds good to me. Okay. And then I wanted to share some kind of fluffy stuff at the end of the memo, which is, I think we got to do some good stuff. So we got to do first a nice community presentation to Early Bird Rotary. So if there's any groups that are around that want community presentations to learn more about CPRD, always happy to do those. And it's not always going to be me, it can be other staff from the team. I happen to do it this time. And I think it was received really well. There unexpectedly happened to be multiple committee members. There was one from the pickleball committee there. There were at least two from the golf course clubhouse committee. And I don't think there was anyone in the crowd from the trails committee, but it was nice to see representation there. And there was even a board member there unexpectedly that didn't know that we were presenting. So thank you, Jim, for being present for that. And so he helped me pinch hit on some of the things, on some of the questions for that too, which was also good. And then in addition to that presentation, which I was told went okay. Although Jim let me know a couple of things I could fix, which Jim, I will do that. I'm happy to do it. We also hosted the chamber.
Yeah, I have to tell you though that professionally, just to embarrass Clay a little bit.
Oh.
He only had like a day to put this thing together. I heard for this meeting, which I didn't know he was going to be at, so I was pleasant surprised to see him there. But he did an amazing job. So I appreciate you, the way you winged it, did it, and I think it was well received by all those folks. So good job.
Yeah, and to be fair, I had more than a day. It's just it came down to the last minute for me to prepare it because we were working on the budget. So there's prioritization. But it was really, it's nice to be able to go there and talk about all the things that we're doing, why CPRD is here, and making sure that people know that we are here and that we can encourage them to take advantage of our programs. So getting to do that sort of stuff is fun for me, and hopefully it's fun for us too. And then we also hosted the Chamber of Commerce's Greeters event, so that's something they go to different organizations and do that. And we did that down at the golf course. Everyone came in, they circled up the tent. So particularly thank you to Kellen joined for that, Kat joined for that, Casey joined for that, and we had 2 board members, so gold stars to both Lisa and Matt. Thank you for coming down and doing that. I think that the people that were there had a good time. We invited everyone to do their regular thing that they do, but it was semi-outdoor because it was in the tent. Happened to be a beautiful day, so that helped. And then we also invited people to hit a few balls at the driving range or a couple of much lighter touches at the mini golf 9 holes before they took off for the day too. So it was nice to be able to offer that and really welcome people to the golf course because, you know, I increasingly feel really good about the golf course because it does have amenities that are available to the public that if it were a private golf course, you don't get to go on the hiking trail around the golf course if it's a private one. So we get to have those sorts of things.
I like that.
And then, as Matt mentioned before, we did the Riverfront Reimagined community gatherings yesterday, so the one both in the morning and in the afternoon. Some really great feedback, and I think that we also got to squeeze some site tours in for some of the folks. Brian, thank you for taking the folks on the tours and site visits for that. And I was going to hand it off to folks after this to do that, so if there's anything you want to say about the Riverfront Reimagined, I'll just kind of hand the mic to you, and then if anyone's got anything they want to piggyback on my superintendent report, they can. But Brian, do you have any thoughts on Riverfront Reimagined?
Thanks. No, it did go very well. It was if anything, it was a great opportunity for us to expose the other people from throughout the state to what we have to offer, and they were quite impressed by that. I have to tell you, I've been around a long time in public service for a quarter of a century or whatever. I had never seen a look on people's faces that I've dealt with in the public, and these are people that make some big decisions with some big dollars. When we came down the hill through the gate at the 219 property, and they saw that property for the first time, oh my gosh, they couldn't believe it. That we were fortunate enough the community is to have that asset in our inventory. And they were kind of perplexed on, well, how long have you had this, and why is nothing going on down here or whatever. But it's a process, and they totally understood that. But so that was a good feeling, that to be able to serve in an organization that we have something like that in our community, and B, to be able to show that, and it makes your job pretty easy. It's the best part of your job to do stuff like that. As much as they were impressed by that, and with both the meetings that I was fortunate enough to attend, AM and PM, the one site that kept coming up more and more that people really think and would really love to see happen again is in Dundee, the paddle launch again. It has everything, it's perfectly located. People already know about it, and the history there, and would love nothing. This wasn't just Dundee residents. These were people that were coming out of the woodwork of all demographics and age groups that loved that site. And realistically, and then the feedback I'm getting from Travel Oregon and this potential grant, and we will, somewhere in the community, we're either gonna pursue a feasibility study of probably Rogers Landing and maybe the landfill site and Baker Rock or something, or if there's more specific feedback on, do we have an opportunity or an option to revisit the Edwards property? Are there any options, feasible there? That would definitely jump to the top of the list. Let's remember, this is a non-matching $100,000, and that's just the first step in. and they'll support the project all the way through with the different organizations and groups they have. So those questions are hard for me to answer, and I'll discuss it more with staff, of course, and, find out where we are with certain things. And there's certain questions like that to answer too, with how far had we proceeded, or what kind of feedback, or where are we at with ODOT per se on the 219 project? How far did those discussions even get? What's the feasibility of, is there another alternative with the phase 2 operation they're doing now and the realigning of Wilsonville Road? Does that make it easier maybe perhaps to utilize that right away and come off of Wilsonville Road? Maybe, that's a question for a brain trust way above mine, but these are things that exist that, and get a little winded here, but they were definitely impressed with our facilities, and that was cool. And thanks, Clay, you did an awesome job for sure. And
Yeah,
you need a fallback plan, you definitely public speaking.
Yeah, they trotted out the new superintendent as their new shiny toy to speak, but Brian and the other steering committee members have really been working well together. So I don't know if we mentioned it, but so Brian is our steering committee member that's on this project, and then there's also Travis Peace, the director from County Parks, and then there's James Dingwall that's serving for the city of Newberg. He's one of their planners over there. So, and then the project is being led as the lead applicant for this was Taste Newberg, and so Katie McFall, who is their destination, or their deputy director, who's got a focus on destination development. So that's a pretty neat one that's opening up some new pathways potentially. And that's it for my superintendent update. That was a lot longer than I planned on it being, so I apologize for talking at you guys that long. And so with that, I would suggest that, well, does anyone have questions? It's hard to believe it went on so long. So then I'll go over to staff reports. So folks want to share things?
I don't have anything after you just gave your whole spiel.
Sorry, yeah. I don't know why I bothered to write it down if I'm going to talk so long, so I'll get better at
Oh,
keeping
we're
it
already
short.
saving time.
Okay, I want to thank Matt and Angela for attending the Camellia Run this year. They were the starters for the event, and it was really fun. The weather was pretty good. It rained just a little bit, which was great for the runners. And we had over 600 runners, which was really wonderful. And so Matt, you were right. We do have a lot of people from outside the community come. I would say it's probably 50-50. But that's a really fun event. We have a really good time out there. So thank you for helping us. That was great. Let's see. At the Aquatic Center, they're very busy. When I go visit there, I have to park all the way in the back. So it's very busy. Wings and Waves, they used our facility this month to train their lifeguards, which is the third year that they've done that. I think that's kind of neat. We had 18 pool party rentals in March, so that's busy. That's on a Friday, Saturday, so very, very busy weekends. And I don't know if you read in the board report, but we have 24 seniors that are going to be leaving us at the end of the year, or at the end of the school year. And so Wendy, and I think I mentioned this last time, but Wendy and Krista are now PE teachers basically at the high school, and they've created this class called Aquatics 1. And so they have 3 days of lifeguarding, swimming instruction on land at the high school, and then the other 2 days they have the participants, they pick them up in the van, in the CPRD van, and they bring them to the aquatic center, and then they work on their swimming skills and teach them some lifeguarding skills as well. So that's really neat. So they have 10 kids right now that are registered for that program, and they have 22 in the fall. So we're hoping that that's going to be a lot of help for us in terms of employees in the fall, and then in the future too. In adult sports, we have our adult men's basketball league. It's just wrapping up. It went so great that they have asked to continue on in the month of May. So we're going to try to do that for them. In youth sports, we have 511 kids playing soccer. So what that looks like is they have games on Monday and Wednesday nights at Darnell Wright. So they're playing in the outfields, essentially, of the softball fields. And then Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, they actually practice there and anywhere else they can find a field. And then on the weekends, we have youth softball going on, and Newberg baseball is using our baseball fields. So our fields right now are really getting a lot of use. And so Jason, when you talk about fields, that's, even in the spring now, we're full, right? I also wanted to give a big shout out to all the volunteers, all the volunteer coaches. They're just amazing. We really appreciate them. And they're spending, time away from their families to help other kids. And I just think that's really tremendous. Let's see, what else? We had actually last weekend, we had Easter egg hunts. The recreation department had an Easter egg hunt at Jakewith and also at Dundee. And as soon as the Easter egg hunts were done, softball and baseball were on. So they're like, 12:30. So that's how that went. So we have a middle school track program. We have 88 kids that are involved in that. And we are so lucky to have the Newberg High School track coaches coaching them.
Oh, nice.
And we have our first track meet in Sherwood this weekend. So that'll be a lot of fun. Our youth lacrosse, we have 6 youth lacrosse teams. We have 3 boys teams and 3 girls teams. And we have 5 home games this Saturday. They're about midway through their season. And so if you've ever been out to watch a lacrosse game, it's really, really, it's a little different, obviously, than baseball and softball because they're constantly moving. And so for kids that get bored playing softball and baseball, it's a great sport for them. And not a lot of people know about it or have experience with it, but you go out and watch it, it's really fun. I think, are your kids playing, Gail?
I've got 1 boy on each team.
Yeah, are they enjoying it?
They love it.
Okay.
Yeah, the coaches are amazing.
Yeah, aren't they good? That's great. In our recreation department, gymnastics is going really well. I think we have 115 participants in that. We have taken over the Newberg Youth Cheer program. They have the Newberg Youth Cheer, Corinda and Kristen, they have retired after 13 years. And so we've taken over that program. We're really looking forward to that. We had 9 birthday parties at the Armory in the month of March. So the Armory's getting a lot of use as well. We had a Ducks Unlimited banquet there. And we also had the retirement of the Newberg Youth Cheer program too. So those were 2 big events. And then of course the 2 Easter egg hunts that we had. I think that was a lot of fun. In our child care department, we hosted a spring break child care, which was great. We had, I think, over 100 kids. And that was at Edwards this year, and they walked to Memorial Park. So what we like to do with our child care program is to use some of our facilities in that. Sometimes they go swimming, sometimes they go visit the park. So I think that's really fun. We had Newberg Noon Rotary serve up Meals on Wheels in the month of March at the Senior Center. And then the VFW and the American Legion, they volunteered on March 7th. So we were happy to have them and wanted to thank them as well. We had Pie Day at the Senior Center. We served 30 pieces of pie. And we have a foot clinic, and I'm not quite sure if people know about it in our community, but we do have a foot clinic at the Senior Center. And this year we had 62 people visit, which is really wonderful. We also had ARP tax prep there. It was full. We had 18 people every single Tuesday in the month of March, so I wanted to make sure everybody knew that was available to people in our community. And I wanted to thank Brian. He and his crew, we received a $25,000 grant for the Senior Center kitchen, and Josh Danner and his group and his team actually have worked really hard to improve that and to get that. We had a certain amount of time we had to get that done in, and so thank you to Brian and his staff. It was tremendous, and it looks really great, and they really appreciate it. So I think that's it. You guys have any questions for me?
Sounds great. Busy times. Max, do you have
Julie?
anything?
Yes.
Oh,
Julie, could you next board meeting give us a report on the gymnastics program? You don't do it right now,
Yeah.
but if you could give us a full report on numbers, revenue, and so on that program, I'd appreciate it.
Yep, you bet.
okay. Is that a no?
Yeah.
Yeah. Just golf and grass and
Just
stuff?
golf and grass, yeah, got the water turned on, and, yeah, that's about it.
Ducks, coyotes, all
I
that?
don't see any coyotes anymore, but we got baby ducks.
Okay, good. It's worth playing 9 just to see that. Brian, what do you got?
First and foremost, I'd like to thank the board and fellow staff for their positive feedback about staff and myself. That's really appreciated, and I'll make sure to convey that. That goes a long way, it really does, in the public.
Yeah.
We continue the major forest cleanup at Friends Park in preparation for the big day on Saturday. We're gonna have fun with that. I think we augured 130 holes today for trees that are going in. That's just the trees, which is cool. We have, hundreds of perennials, and we're gonna be cutting ivy, and we're gonna be creating trails. It's gonna be awesome. So, mowing at 219 in the Heritage Campground and up at Riley property and at Saunders today. That went well. Trails are maintained, spring storms repaired, and any damage there, and safety checks daily, and brush removal. Outdoor spring sports, lots of prep and field maintenance, and it goes right back to Julie and her team too, and the outside resources that she used. We all work together, and it's awesome. So we got a really good relationship there. As Jim Bernard would like to tell you, we got on those damn fields almost 2 weeks ago. We don't get off until Halloween. That's a long time. That's a good example of there's an opportunity. It's a no-brainer for year-round recreation here on those fields. So we'll get there. We'll get there. And so that's exciting. Parks mowing, landscaping has taken off, very busy. Some random stuff, parks trash removal, restroom cleaning. We do that 7 days a week. And that falls under basic service. And a lot of that goes unnoticed, and that's the way it's supposed to be. But I appreciate the opportunity to mention it at a board meeting. Facilities, that program setups, janitorial cleanup throughout the district, i.e. armory. After every one of those events, basic service rolls in there and gets it ready for the next one. Facilities and fleet maintenance, fixing numerous buildings and equipment, always busy. Continued working, some of the fun, cool stuff of my job is continue working with Travel Oregon and Yamhill Soil and Water Conservation District. Great group of people there. And it's wonderful working with them on several grant and community projects. And I'm looking forward to continuing doing that. And last but not least, put the 2025-26 budget to bed, kind of, sort of. So I'm excited about that too. Excited about that too. And yeah, I'll leave it at that. I appreciate the comments. We don't have an army. I have a small, highly skilled, very motivated platoon.
Like a SWAT team.
Yeah, so thanks.
Thank you. Okay, any correspondence or other items we may have missed?
All of it was in your packet unless it was put out for you as a hard copy, I believe. Kat, do you have anything else you wanted to mention to them?
Just please mark your calendars for June 18th. That's when we're hosting the COG dinner, and the invitations will be going out next week, so you'll have those. But we hope that all, or at least most of you, will be able to make it. We're working hard to plan a good event.
It will be the best city-county dinner ever, so please attend if you can. Okay, with that said, we will be moving into an executive session to conduct deliberations with persons designated by the governing body to negotiate real property transactions pursuant to Oregon Revised Statute 1926602E. We will take a 5-minute break and we will convene in the meeting room.
I wanted to see how we'd like to handle that because we have Jim.
We do. We're all good to go.
Oh, so we'll just have
Jim
him-
will continue as a panelist on the computer.
He's okay.
And he
You're
will
carrying
be
Jim.
with us. I'm carrying Jim. Jim, do not leave.
Got it.
Thank you, Dr.
All right. Oh, do we need to read anything in about the ORS provisions that we're doing this under?
I did read the ORS.
Oh, you did?
one.
Okay, so we got the ORS in there.
I need to.
Sorry, I blanked out. That was a question. I'm like, did it happen? All right. Thanks for reading that. Not with.
Okay, we are now out of executive session, and the board will direct staff to negotiate with the county regarding Crabtree Park, not to exceed $20,000 in total. And I guess, do we have any, we allow discussion and a motion on that?
If that's what you want.
Motion.
Yeah.
Question?
I would entertain a motion to that point.
Jim has a
Yeah, Jim?
My question is that we didn't have an exceed when we had a discussion.
No, we did
Mhm.
not.
So it's more
It's
like,
not worded in.
I think the number doesn't need to be there.
Mm-hmm.
I agree.
Okay, so I'd entertain a motion without the number associated.
I move that we, as the board, direct staff to negotiate a transfer of Crabtree Park from the county to the district.
I'll second that.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion regarding the motion at hand? Okay, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay, passes.
Can we verify that the board member who's remote on the vote?
Jim did vote aye.
Okay.
Yeah,
Want to make sure we got that.
Yes, I did.
Thank you.
okay.
Have fun, Jim.
Enjoy
Yeah,
getting on.
it's the one I'm playing fly back post.
Yeah,
Yeah, you got a whole month to have fun first, though, so it's okay.
Well, considering it's, 96 degrees and almost 100% humidity, I had to come back.
okay. With that, we will adjourn. Thank you.
Thanks all.
Bye.
I was telling him I got to do a trip to Vietnam with my wife, so we went to Cambodia to see Angkor Wat. And it was wonderful, but
He's stuck inside.